Hello everyone, welcome to the first live stream by Untold Stories. For those that don't know, my name is Richie. I am the lesser good looking of the three members of Untold Stories. And this was kind of like an idea that we had fairly recently. During lockdown we can't get out and do our full length episodes, which will be coming soon, hopefully. So I thought we might take a look at some, as the title would suggest, well, a little bit of a backstory actually. So, in the 1990s, many moons ago, when CD drives became very popular on computers, I mean, most computers don't even have them now, but there was a period years ago when they didn't have them because they didn't exist and or were too expensive. So, when CD-ROM technology became affordable, people who made games and software for computers realised that they could fill all of that wonderful space. They went from having a few megabytes of storage to hundreds of megabytes of storage, and they thought, how can we fill it? Right, I know what we can do. We can put terribly compressed audio and video on these discs. So that's what they did. It's kind of like something you don't really see nowadays, but CD-ROMs became really popular, especially sort of what would be called edutainment software, which any sort of interactive multimedia basically, and they used to churn these things out all the time. There was like learning studios for kids and all sorts of stuff. But in 1990, I want to say 1996, 97. It was 96. In fact, my family, we got our first PC, and as a kid, I was always into spooky stories and things like that. So I remember being in a shop in Middlesbrough in the northeast where I'm from and seeing this box on a shelf, and I remember the cover. In fact, some of it's on the thumbnail for this, and I coveted this thing for years. I never got it, and it was this CD-ROM called Unexplained, and I still vividly in my mind can see it now. And I've got a picture up in front of me here, actually, of the actual cover. I'll bring it over now so you guys can have a look. But there it is, right there. And I vividly remember seeing it. Something to do with Jonathan Frakes there. I'm presuming it was some free episode of was it Unsolved Mysteries he used to present? I cannot remember now. Jonathan Frakes, of course, from Star Trek: The Next Generation. Let me just get rid of that window. So so that CD-ROM has always been at the back of my mind, and I managed to find it on the Internet Archive recently. Just a bit of background about it. It was made by a company called Flag Tower. 1996 apparently it came out, and it's a 1996 multimedia CD-ROM about unexplained phenomena. And if I look on the cover there, it says more than 2 full hours of fascinating. What's that? Fascinating sights and sounds, including video, which was, of course, revolutionary at the time. Obviously, on CDs, video had to be stupidly compressed. It was just, as you will see and hear when we get into this. But yeah, I thought it'd be fun to kind of just have a little look through it. I found, in the process of finding this, I found some other ones, some sort of UFO ones, and a really weird ghost one with Christopher Lee in it as well. And, of course, these do not work on modern systems. So I've had to do a little bit of fiddling to get these to work. But we will jump into that in a second. I just need to finish pouring my drink. Of course, it being a spooky live stream, I've got a spooky beer. We've got some ghost chip. We're going to be having a little bit of that to keep me sane. So I will just pour that. Other beers are available. And remember to drink responsibly. As I always do. Anyway, before we begin, if anyone wants to, we're streaming on YouTube. So if anyone wants to join in with on the comments and on the chat, the live chat, and come and harass us, then feel free. Anyway, so in order to get this running, because this was a Windows 95 CD-ROM, I have had to, here it comes, I am basically running Windows 95 within Windows 10. It's a bit fiddly, but it generally works okay. I had to go with the Windows theme of mystery. Back in the day, you used to be able to change your entire Windows theme on Windows 98. I think you could do it 95 as well. And as you can see, it changed your icons and your sounds and all sorts. It's called Mystery, so why not? Anyway, so let's crack on. I've had to mount the media as another drive, basically, like the ISOs, and now it's been ridiculously slow, and I hope it hasn't locked up on me. If it has, I will be sad and may cry. It's a good start, isn't it? It's been open for a while. There we go, it's caught up now. Oh no, it hasn't. I'm lying. Right, I'll tell you what we'll do. I will shut that and open it again. Because obviously, you know, running an operating system within an operating system, it's can be a little bit fiddly. Yes, not responding. Time to sip a drink. Oh, there we go. Power off the machine. It's kind of cool program, this by Oracle. You can run, you can VirtualBox. You can run, you can install all sorts of operating systems and run them to run whatever you want, software or games or anything like that. Anyway, here we go, and it boots up like the old operating systems of many moons ago. Here we go. There we go. Just going to try and scan the drive. Windows 98. Oh, lovely. Lovely times. I have a lot of nostalgia for Windows 98. It was. I had 95 for a little while, but I have a lot more nostalgia for 98 when I started getting into games, and it was sort of the dawn of the internet as well. So I dial-up internet at that point. Ask your parents about dial-up internet. That was fun. Oh, there we go. We've got a little bit of a Windows sound there. Right, let's just let it boot up, and then we should be good to go. Come on, look at those little footsteps for the loading thing. You don't get stuff like that anymore. I know there's programs out there you can get for Windows 10 and whatever to change everything, but this, these themes and everything, these were actually by Microsoft, which was kind of cool. Right then, off we go. Yeah, there it is. I've got all sorts of stuff installed here. Look, Muppets Treasure Island multimedia disc. Oh, lovely. Oh no, I don't want to give away too much of some of the other ones we might be doing. Right, so let's go. Get ready for some compressed video funness. Oh, I'm dropping things now. Here we go. Well, you've got to set the volume first, which is kind of weird. Hold on to that. That'll do. Put it at 4.
Welcome to Flag Tower's interactive documentary, The Unexplained.
Ooh.
If you want to skip this orientation sequence,
I do.
You can start the program straight away by clicking the mouse at any time.
Okay.
Since civilization began, we have searched for a greater knowledge
Stonehenge looking spooky.
And our planet. As our wisdom has grown, we have pushed back the boundaries of the unknown, solving many of the mysteries that confounded our ancestors. A belief has emerged that science and rationality can and will eventually reveal the truths behind our existence.
Oh, okay. I'm just going to cut off that audio. That's nice. Cool. Well, you'll probably notice.
But today.
Oh no, there we go. Oh, some spooky rain. These discs really do take themselves seriously. They do not present this as merely the facts and then you make up your own mind. They present this very much as it's all paranormal, which being part of this channel and everything, people wouldn't expect me to. But I'm a huge skeptic. I just don't believe in anything, but I'm fascinated by it all. Yeah, let's look. So this is the sections that it's all broken down into. What we got up here? That's the introduction, which we've seen. Further information. I looked at this earlier. This was kind of interesting. It's got magazines and periodicals that you can have a look at. Let's have a look. If you scroll down, yeah, all sorts. I don't think it even mentions. Weirdly, I don't even think it mentions 40 Times, which is kind of like the number one. Excuse me, magazine in the UK for odd stuff. Kind of my Bible. Oh, sorry, I'll go back in that again. Excuse me. Yeah, there's internet addresses. This is kind of funny. You will need to have a web browser such as Netscape Navigator, dead, or Internet, or Microsoft Internet Explorer, also dead, and an internet account. Ooh, yes. And of course, at this point, they couldn't really put hyperlinks in these apps to automatically open things. So you have to go to a file called bookmark HTM on the disk. So, what else we got? Societies and institutes. Oh yeah. Religious and physical research. Oh dear. Centre for UFO stuff. I wonder how many of these still exist. I bet quite a lot of them. They all seem to be American. It's an American-made disc. Oh no, there's a French one there as well. Yeah, and then you have some books and further reading, you know. UFO cover. A lot of it seems to be to do with UFOs. A lot of this sort of stuff. Oh, we've got Life After Death. We've got ghosts and things there as well. Anyway. And you can print that as well, which is kind of useful. Let's go back. Right. Now, earlier on I was debating what order to do this in. And I came to the conclusion I should just basically do it in no order. I'm just going to sort of have whatever tickles me fancy as we go through. So we will start at the top though. Let's have a look at strange phenomena. Let's have a look. Oh my gosh. Some spooky lightning. Let's move that nice pointer. What we got? Sky visions. Auras and thought forms. Mysterious. I've never heard the term thought forms before. Weird. I'm going to say the word weird loads, and we're looking at weird stuff, so it's a bit redundant, really. Isn't it? Mysterious fires. Now, is that going to entail spontaneous human combustion? I had a fantastic book. I might actually have to do that as a live stream at some point. Just go through some of the books that I used to have when I was a kid, which got me into like weird stories and ghost stories and all that. I've still got quite a lot of them down on my bookcase. So that might be an idea for a future live stream, perhaps. But yeah, I had one on spontaneous human combustion. I had that famous photo of, I can't remember the lady's name now, but I know the old lady who supposedly spontaneously combusted in a chair, and all that was left was one of her legs. And it's a very famous photograph. I think it was an American lady. I can't remember her name now. I think her son found her. Very sad, but very odd as well. Anyway, let's have a look. What have we got? Sky visions. I reckon this will be sort of angels on battlefields and things, won't it? Let's have a look. Oh. So what have we got here?
Today, many people might associate unexplained sky phenomena with UFOs or alien activity of some sort. But there have been many cases in the past of more recognizable but no less strange occurrences in the sky. Over the course of history,
looking on the chat there, Mickey Moran says many a band have lost many a drummer to spontaneous combustion. Yes, Spinal Tap had that problem, unfortunately.
Indicate that there may be several different explanations. Sometimes it seems as if a battle or event was so dreadful that it has left an imprint on the astral plane to be played over and over again in the heavens. Sometimes visions have appeared as predictions of impending defeat. Occasionally, a ghostly army has even seemed to repel a real one,
the Bowman.
as happened during one of the bloodiest battles of World War I. Even if you don't believe sky visions predict the future, they have certainly influenced it. In 312 AD, a fiery cross in the sky may have altered the whole course of history. If the Emperor Constantine hadn't seen this vision on the eve of battle, Christianity might never have become one of the dominant religions of the world.
And that's bad why? Well, there we go. That was interesting. Oh, we got on the second one.
She was a real ship, square rigged, though ghostly like. She would come from a sea
ghostly
mist
ships.
and sail over the hill, her keel all but scraping the Logan
I
Rock.
think I find... let's
One
have a
of
look
the
what
many
they are.
accounts.
What are these? Ah, so this is all text and things. Ah, reflections in the sky. Yes, phantom boats above the coast of Ireland said to have been due to freak reflections. I can't remember the name of that now, but there was a name for that. The reflection, it's something to do with the reflection and the curve, and I really don't know. I should have looked that up. But yeah, there is a... Is there got the name there? No, it isn't. But yeah, it's happens more often than you think. Get this sort of flipped reflection, and boats look like they're higher than the horizon, or objects in fact look like they're higher than the horizon. And it can happen with it's happened with people seeing buildings in the sky, or cities, think they see cities in the sky, and it's actually to do with odd reflections and other physics and weather anomalies that I do not understand. So I understand very little. But yeah, I think I'm quite fascinated by. I think it's quite fascinating the visions, especially the ones that you got in the First World War. 'Cause I think it was the Angels, wasn't it? Excuse me. Firing on the bowmen on the battlefield, and I find those more fascinating. A, because they happened relatively modern times, so people were able to make testimonials straight after, which were obviously written down. But more so, I don't believe necessarily they happened, but I find them interesting because rather than a lot of paranormal experiences people have, which are personal, you had literally tens of people seeing something or saying they saw something, which I find quite interesting. The side of paranormal things that I find the most fascinating is, because I don't necessarily believe a lot of it to be what we think it is, ghosts or whatever. I'm more fascinated with, if it isn't paranormal, then what is it? I don't believe all of these people who've claimed to have seen things throughout the years are lying, and I don't believe they're all necessarily mistaken with what they saw. So what did they see? I find that side of it more fascinating than anything. I just like a good spooky story. So someone's just said in the comments that the floaty ship thing, that's the official name, it happened a few weeks ago apparently somewhere, and flat earthers have been using it to apparently in bunny ears prove the flatness of the earth. Oh, what a load of cranks. Anyway, yeah, I mean there's a lot of text on this as well. You get those short videos and then you get it broken down into, let's just see what the other ones were. Get away! What's this one? What's this? A recurring vision of a ship in the sky. It appears all of these ones are going to be ships in skies. Ghostly cruise. Oh, ghost pirates. Scotland. Clan Campbell. When a member of Clan Campbell dies, an ancient ghostly vessel is said to appear on Loch Fyne. According to the Duke of Argyll, after the death of Lord Archibald Campbell in 1913, the galley appeared in the loch and then headed over the land to the sanctuary of St. Columba. Well, I don't know if that loch is landlocked. If it is, why would there be a galley? I am puzzled by this. Anyway, it might not be landlocked. I don't know. What we got here? What's this? Phantom anchors? What? Oh, it's a Jules Verne there. Okay, phantom boats with the anchors dangling away. Okay. When a skyship's anchor became caught on the porch of a church, one of the phantom sailors climbed down the rope to free it. Oh. Oh well. Let me see. Very strange. That was just my Facebook making noises at me there. What's this last one? Flights of Fancy. What have we got here? Oh, there we go. Just windows, just taking ages to do anything. Oh no, what there is that? Is that what? Ah! What's this? A remarkable story about a sequence of events that have taken place in Merkel, Texas. They noticed a heavy object dragging along with a rope attached to hold it until crossing the railroad and caught on the rail. Saw what they supposed was the airship. Bum, bum, bum. Right, anyhow, let's have a look at... let's go back a little bit here. And let's pick another one to have a little look at. Where are we at? Ooh, let's go Mysterious Fires. I can't be bothered with auras. Well, although I do know what thought forms are. Let's find out what a thought form is. I presume it's someone being able to see thoughts as an aura or something. I don't know. There's a frog. Or a toad, perhaps. Can't quite make it out with its compressed video. Oh yeah, I'm sorry I can't have this much bigger as well. It's all got to do with resolutions of Windows 98 and it's boring. You don't want to know. Let's listen.
For thousands of years, people have believed the human body and the spirit to be separable. At the core of many religions is the conviction that, after death, the soul moves to a spirit world. But is this just a matter of faith? And can the human spirit become distinct? Is it possible for the
I love some of
living
these
to
old,
actually visit
what I presume to be
or see
Victorian
the
era
astral
illustrations
world?
of seances and
Many
things. They're
clairvoyants
awesome.
are convinced that we can. They call it astral travel or skywalking. In the late 1860s, an American, Edwin Babbitt, was determined to see the astral plane for himself and report to others
What did he
saw.
do?
After months of practice, his persistence was rewarded.
At last, I was able to see those glories of light and color, which no tongue can describe or intellect conceive of unless they've seen. And later, when I opened my eyes upon the sky and earth, they seemed almost colorless and dim.
Okay. Well, how did he do that? It just said he practiced. Practiced what? Thought forms. Here we go.
Edwin Babbitt said he couldn't have possibly imagined the beauty he saw on
Oh,
his
no, of
astral
course not.
travels. But according to the 19th century clairvoyant Charles Leadbeater, the exquisite images on the astral plane are created by our very thoughts.
What a majestic beard.
Every thought gives rise to a set of correlated vibrations in the matter of the astral body, accompanied with a marvelous play of color, like that of a waterfall as the sunlight strikes.
He called these images thought forms, and his book on the subject had a revolutionary effect on the course of modern art.
Man Visible and Invisible was his book.
Leadbeater
illustration.
employed professional artists to paint his astral visions. Today, there are an increasing number of psychic artists who claim to draw their inspiration from the spirit world.
Oh, well, there we go. Let's watch the last bit. Part 3, yeah.
As well as painters, many writers and musicians have also tried to convey the beauty of the spirit world. But can the aura reveal anything about a person's physical state? Since the 1850s, a succession of pioneering scientists
Look at that,
have
great
sought ways
illustration.
of revealing and using the human
That's
aura
Tesla.
for practical means. A breakthrough came with the invention of aura photography in 1939.
Invention.
Having accidentally received a sparking shock from an electrical device, the Russian scientist Semyon Kurlian went on to develop what he saw as a means of capturing the image of an aura on photographic paper.
Oh.
Kurlian photography has produced images of both plant and animal material, and though still considered controversial within conventional medical practice, is now used by many doctors to detect diseases such as cancer.
Is it? Okay. Well, there you go. Oh, it skips back. Let's look on that again, because you can... There's that frog again. I'm just looking at these... I just wanted to look again at these little fellas at the bottom here. I'm wondering if examples of the soul astral plane. Just seeing if every page has got... Oh yes, they do. Let's have a look at some psychic art. Ooh. The French psychic artist Marguerite Bernard Provins. Speaking of a gift, let's have a listen.
In October 1914, when the terrible war had just begun, I was sitting in my villa at Bayonne.
No, beautiful bit crushed audio.
Husband and brothers who were soldiers. Suddenly, as though from nowhere, a word began to sound in my head. Somehow I knew that it was the name of an evil demon.
Ooh.
I could not resist the impulse to draw it. Soon on my paper there was formed the image of a bug-eyed, crocodile-headed monster.
My goodness.
It was holding our earth in bloody hands. From that moment onward, I had the psychic power to
one of the old
portray
ones, wasn't it?
creatures and
Holding the
persons
planet.
merely from the sounds of their names.
Did it have
Visions
tentacles?
and drawings came quickly. Once, in Cannes in 1922, I was in such a frenzy that I painted 48 pictures in less than...
Oh, okay, you can cut off. Less than what? I've had this problem actually with the Windows 98 in this run like this. It's been cut the end of audio off a little bit, so we might get a little bit of that, unfortunately. But, you know, better than nought, isn't it? Right, okay, let's just go back a little bit. So yeah, she was French. I might have to look her up a little bit. I'd be interested to see some of the things she drew, especially that crazy thing, crocodile-headed thing, holding our planet in its grasp. Right, let's go back. Okay, let's go back again. Yeah, let's have. We'll go through these quickly. That's mysterious fires. Ooh. Why with this frog? Why always with the frog? Lightning.
Fire and lightning have always been associated with strange phenomena. From fires in the sky to spontaneous human combustion.
Yay!
The power of the stories has been fueled by our instinctive fear of fire. To early man, lightning came from the hands of the gods themselves.
That's a cool picture.
Though we are now closer to
That needs to be a
understanding
prog
the
rock
scientific
album cover,
nature
that
of
does.
lightning, there are still many aspects that remain unexplained, like its ability to penetrate deep into the earth, or to burn shadows of what it has traveled through onto objects or skin. People sheltering under trees have been branded with images of branches when lightning struck.
You have some pictures of that. Some pictures of
Mysteriously, some people
marks
seem
people
to
have got
attract
from
lightning
being
and have been struck on
by lightning.
numerous
Quite
occasions.
interesting. I wonder if it'll mention
Even domestic electricity doesn't always
lightning bolts,
behave as
fireballs,
we would expect.
which are a phenomena
In
which has
1990,
been
in the Italian village of San
observed
Gottardo,
supposedly.
electricity
In fact, back
appeared
in
to
my
go
hometown in the
completely out
northeast,
of control.
apparently happened many years ago
Objects
when my parents were
melted
younger.
Or burst into flames.
Ball lightning,
Some
that was
people
it.
blamed
Yeah.
their neighbors. Others thought it was the work of the devil.
Oh my
but
goodness.
No explanation was ever found.
There's a spoopy devil. Oh, okay, fair enough. Right, what's next? Fireballs. Oh, it might do then. You might mention them.
Strange fires in the sky have often been reported that could never be associated with lightning. In medieval times, balls of fire were believed to come from fire-breathing monsters above the earth. Mythical creatures like the fire drake came from a band of fire between the earth and the moon.
Doesn't get much
and
more
could
metal
burst
than that,
free
does
to
it?
wreak
Really?
havoc on earth. This myth was still current in the 16th century when two of the most famous sky fires were seen, at Nuremberg in Germany and at Bâle in Switzerland.
Wow. There we go.
On those occasions, no one was hurt, but fireballs can be deadly, and they continue to be reported, despite the general
there we
scientific
go.
view that they don't even exist.
Yeah, they do. There must have been fairly modern reports of them actually happening. Very strange. Stories of them going over the roofs of houses and all sorts of odd
Perhaps the most
things.
terrifying fire mystery is spontaneous human combustion.
Oh no!
Where humans have been totally burned
What's
up.
that dude down the
with
left?
No
The little
apparent
little
explanation.
Innsmouth fella down there. This is the lady I was on about.
In 1951,
Here she is.
the charred remains of 67-year-old
Where's
Mary
her leg?
Visser
Show us
were
her leg.
found in a Florida apartment under mystifying circumstances.
Yeah, she'd have a
Her
cigarette in her
body
leg.
was almost completely disintegrated, yet her surroundings seemed largely untouched.
Oh, there you go.
Experts were unable to determine
Oh, that one
the
shows the leg.
cause or nature of
I think
the
she was sat in a
fire,
chair, I
and
think,
it remains
and
unexplained to this day.
Son had left her.
A classic case of spontaneous human combustion.
There we go. There's the picture. See, look, that's
When
the
burnt
weird thing
remains
which
are
people
found, foul play must often be suspected.
get puzzled
But
by.
sometimes people have burst into flames in public. In 1938, a girl in a ballroom in Chelmsford, England, suddenly caught fire and died. In 1980, another English girl burst into flames at a Darlington disco.
Darlington's near my
Had the
hometown.
victims of spontaneous combustion consumed huge amounts of alcohol?
That's
Were
one
they
theory.
wearing flammable clothing? These explanations cannot account for the intense heat needed to reduce bones to mere ashes. A modern investigator has suggested that spontaneous combustion
The wick.
must be caused by gas-fueled flames, but exactly how and why remains a mystery.
I just mentioned there when I said the wick. It's one of the theories I know about spontaneous human combustion. Is I think they did studies using pig fat. I think it was, and basically the human body acts. They think the human body might act like a wick once it starts burning. That's one of the various theories, but a lot of the time, there's been a lot of cases of it happening where it's been homeless people or people who might have drank a lot of alcohol. They think that might have something to do with it. But the one thing that puzzles a lot of people about it is not necessarily the bursting into flames, although that is quite puzzling if it in fact has happened. But even if the person had just been set on fire, as you saw from that picture, a fire burn is such an intense heat to reduce bone to basically to dust. I know in that case that woman's skull was found and it was like tiny, it had just shrunk from the heat, but such intense heat to burn that much, and then the leg with the shoe on to be completely unmarked, and the burning to be in a really, really contained area, and nothing around being burned, is just kind of like odd. That's one of the things a lot of people point to, is the extremities often will be left untouched. So the extremities being, hands, feet, that type of thing. Yeah, interesting stuff. It was kind of fashionable. It was you get sort of like fads and fashions in like in the world of the unexplained and sort of paranormal and odd things. And I remember there was a lot of books about it when I was a kid, about spontaneous combustion. It doesn't seem... I think one of the reasons why that became quite popular was I remember there was an episode of The X-Files in the 90s where there was a character, I can't remember the character's name, but there was a character who could make people spontaneously combust. And I think it kind of... the way dinosaurs became really fashionable after Jurassic Park, I think the same happened with various things in X-Files. That was before X-Files just went on about aliens constantly, when every episode was about something odd in the earlier seasons. And there was one about a guy who would set people on fire, which of course is a massive rip-off really of what was the Stephen King book called? Firestarter. And I think there was another film was someone setting fire to people with I can't remember the actor's name now. What was it called? It might have been called Spontaneous Combustion or something like that. And it was a fellow who voices Chucky. Why have I forgotten his name? He was excellent in Exorcist 3. Anyway, I digress. Let's have a look at some more stuff. Strange rains. Well, coincidences, we're not bothering that because coincidences are coincidences, and it'll be all that. Yeah, you know what type of stuff. I thought it was strange rains, because I want to know what strange rains are exactly. Oh, this will be when, like, frogs have rained, and there's been... Am I thinking biblical? Yeah, I might be. I don't know. Anyway. Ooh.
Unlike most unexplained phenomena,
Fishies.
strange rains at first seem not so much frightening as absurd. Objects mysteriously falling from the sky? Surely the witnesses are imagining things.
Yeah, I know with fish and things, there's been
A closer
ideas
look
that...
shows that they may have actually happened.
There you go.
And
Shower
some
frogs,
of
that's
the
what I was
logical
thinking of.
explanations seem even more alarming than the incidents themselves. Reports of animals dropping from the sky go back 2,000 years. The Greek historian Athenaeus reported a shower of fish that lasted 3 days, and a fall of frogs
There's a lot of
so
fish.
serious that the roads became
Oh god, that's a
blocked.
line from the
People
Godzilla
couldn't
remake in
open
the
their front
90s.
doors, and the town stank for weeks.
It smelled like Hull.
Since then, falls of fish and amphibians have been reported on hundreds of occasions. In Australasia, there were over 50 incidents between 1879 and 1971, more than one every 2 years.
Weird.
Usually the creatures are small, but there is an account of a bull falling from the heavens.
No, there isn't.
Luckily, this seems to have been a one-off.
No, that didn't happen. That's bullshit. Da 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 da. Right, let's have a look. Flying objects.
There have been so many accounts of things falling from the sky that a special word has been coined to describe them. Fafrotskis. People have been pelted by coins and stones and have even narrowly missed being crushed by huge blocks of ice.
Fall of crosses? What?
One of the most bizarre missiles
ninja pose
was a
on that.
silver note case containing 13 pages of a notebook. Unfortunately, the pages were blank. Nor have any messages been found on the enormous sheets of black marsh paper which have fallen from the sky, though the phenomena investigator Charles Fort suspected that no one had even
Mr.
bothered
Fort.
to look. He thought that any words or hieroglyphics on the paper would have told us a lot more than a chemical analysis ever could. Pieces of marsh paper which fell near the Baltic Sea in 1687 were preserved and then scientifically analyzed 150 years later. They were found to be made up of algae and tiny water creatures, which
marsh
only
paper?
added
I
to
need
the
to know.
mystery.
Let's have a look. I need to know what marsh paper is. What's marsh paper?
When the Israelites encountered the most famous strange rain in history, the fall of manna in the wilderness, they believed that it came from God.
Of course it did.
Today, we prefer more rational explanations. But what Charles Fort described as the uninspired
There he is.
persistence of the scientific still hasn't explained where most Fafrotskis come from. Sometimes, scientists are so convinced about what's possible that they ignore the evidence, such as when they blamed practical jokers for the great fish fall at Mountain Ash in Wales.
The Great Fish Fall.
Charles Fort proposed his own theory of the Super Sargasso Sea, a sea suspended in the sky, waiting to disgorge its contents onto the earth.
That's just
This theory has the
silly.
great virtue of being impossible to disprove. But there have been such a range of mysterious falls in the past, it makes you wonder what might come down next.
Rain of Blood. Slayer! Yeah, I had a look for what marsh paper was, and it just came up with a company called Marsh Paper. I couldn't really find out. And I don't want to spend time just sat staring at that screen while we're doing this. Anyway, I'm going to skip coincidences because I can't be bothered with that, quite frankly. Let's go back to the main menu. Ooh, I want to save ghosts and spirits until last, I think. Let's have a look at mysterious beings. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's spoopy. Monsters, the undead? What? Oh, we got fairies there. We did we had a bite-sized episode of that fairly recently. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Featuring Ema, who is from the land of the fairies. Perhaps she is a fairy herself. We do not know. Okay, what you about? Monsters? What? That's going to be? Is that going to be like? I don't know. Are we going to have vampires in there with undead? Let's have a look at. Oh my goodness. Let's start on monsters. This is good stuff. Honestly, I would have absolutely loved this if I'd got it at the time. I would have just spent hours and hours and hours on it. It's just you just don't get this in interactive multimedia anymore. People just got a website now, which is a shame, really. Mysterious beings. Ooh, sea monsters. Can't go wrong with a sea monster.
We all fear what we do not know, what lies hidden from view.
Maths.
Waiting, watching, aware of us, but unseen. These are the monsters of our modern world. In remote lands or beneath the surface of the world's water, they wait to be discovered. In ancient times, the dark world below the surface of the sea was an unknown and frightening place. Before we developed the techniques of diving, the sea was a world of untold fears.
I mean, it still is terrifying. I mean, if you look at the percentage of the, I don't know how true that statistic is, but they say we know more about our immediate space than we do the Kraken. We know more about space than we do about our seas. Well, I don't know how true that is, but I do know that the percentage of the sea that we've explored is like minute. It's just barely anything.
A truly prehistoric fish that has swum
there's something
the deep
terrifying
seas
about
for millions of
dark
years.
seas. I've always
The
found it quite
shark, the gulper eel,
quite scary.
all have the potential to
Don't know why. I think it's from maybe growing up on the coast and coming from a fishing town. Maybe I find the sea beautiful yet scary, I think. Sorry, I totally talked over that. I do apologise. Right, what we got? Lake monsters. Oh, here we go. Loch Ness monster.
Are reported to exist
Oh my goodness.
in over 300 of the
Bunyip.
world's inland lakes.
And the Upper Gopo.
None is more famous than the beast that is said to lurk in the depths of Scotland's Loch Ness.
Nessie.
10,000 reported sightings in recent history, as well as several interesting photographs, have intensified the controversy. Though the most famous image, known as the surgeon's photograph,
faked.
has now been exposed as a hoax.
I think that's
More
that.
recently,
I think the guy
video
who
footage
took
has
that photo.
added to the debate on the existence and biology
I think
of the
his,
vast
after he died,
creatures
his
swimming
sons
somewhere in
came
the
out and said, "Oh yeah,
1,000-foot
he
deep lake.
made up."
However complex the investigation, science has not yet proved the existence of Nessie, and still the creature remains undiscovered, along with so many other similar reports from around the world. Though theories abound of marine dinosaurs surviving millions of years, it is doubtful whether we will ever discover the truth hidden in these murky depths.
Oh my. Seen in Lake Windermere in the Lake District where I go quite a lot. Cullen, they've got a monster there now. Kind of
On
wonder
land,
how much
it is the cat family
is it
that
to do with
holds
tourism?
a similar fear and fascination for the human race.
Oh no, big cats.
Reports of big cats have been around for many years.
There's been reports of this
Not
locally
surprising,
in West
perhaps,
Yorkshire,
in
near
countries where
Halifax.
wildcats still roam free.
Fairly
In the
recently,
United
if I remember
Kingdom,
correctly.
though, where the wildcat
I know there was
reported
a fake
virtually
video
extinct
recently made
over
that had to do with
70 years
Halifax.
ago, there have been
That was at the
increasing
rugby team or
reports
football
of
team. I
large
don't
cats
know, I don't
thought
follow
to be
sports, but
pumas, leopards, or panthers.
there was reports of it back in the northeast.
Explanations for these monsters
when I was a kid as
range
well.
from escaped zoo animals to alien visitations.
No, it's not
The
alien
most likely
visitations,
being
is it?
confusion with other animals, like large dogs. But many accounts are
Lovely.
supported by convincing evidence. attacked farm animals,
A dead
mysterious
sheep
claw marks,
surrounded by popcorn.
photographs, and of course, footprints and tracks that have been examined by experts. In 1983, in the English town of South Molton in Devon, the Beast of Exmoor was said to have attacked over 200 animals over a period of 5 months. It was described as an enormous black cat with a tail as long as its body, capable of running at speeds of 35 miles an hour and easily jumping gates and hedges. With similar regular sightings around the world, perhaps we should reconsider our approach to cats in general.
If you get
or
a
we
clear,
could be in for a shock.
if you get a clear photo of these, was that cat pairing? If you get a clear photo of these supposed big cats, then it's quite easy, really, if you get them in situ on rocks or whatever, to go there and work out roughly the size of the animal, if it's clear, which they've done on a few occasions, and some of them, if they were big cats, would be roughly the size of, panthers, pumas, that type of thing. So it always seems to be black cats, though, which is kind of interesting. But really sort of interesting. Obviously the skeptical side of me is constantly saying, what a load of crap. But I think out of all those sort of phenomena, the wild cats is probably one of the more likely to actually, be something. It seems a bit more rooted in reality. Escaped animals, that type of thing, because there's been cases of escaped zoo animals and circus animals that have never turned up, after they've escaped. So I don't know, why not? Fun times. Come on, let's do Undead. Undead. Zombies. If we mentioned the voodoo zombies, that'll be interesting. Oh my goodness.
The
Look at
world of the undead has terrified the human mind from the earliest times.
That's an awesome
Many
picture.
horrific acts have been
Eating
blamed
babies.
on these desperate souls
Nom, nom, nom,
who
nom.
wander the night, often seeking the blood of the living to quench their thirst and feed their power.
Ooh.
The vampire,
Oh,
the
there he is.
ultimate
There's
creature
Bella.
of the dark, is now epitomized by cinematic
Should have said
creations
Creature of
the
the
20th
Night when
century,
Bella came on, not
by
Creature of
Count
the Dark.
Dracula and his ability to transform
Oh,
himself
dear.
into a bat. But this wing-flapping image is a recent one. Vampires are traditionally souls who cannot pass over into the spirit world, who still inhabit their bodies as they lie in their coffins, and who try to steal
I know I had
life force from their
I
victims.
had a book when I was a kid. I might
In
again
some
mention the books
cultures,
earlier, but I
it
might
became
still have it.
common practice
It was like
to
a
nail
kid's
into
book
their
about
coffins
monsters.
the bodies of murderers, suicide
And
victims,
it went
and
through all the
those
different
who had
type of
been
vampires from different
excommunicated
countries,
from the church.
and some of
If
the
vampires were
myths are
feared to
just
be on the
bonkers compared to
rampage,
what we
these
think.
bodies would be exhumed, pierced by swords or
that.
stakes, cut into pieces, or burned, whatever it took to expel the vampire's soul.
My goodness. Yay! Werewolves. Yeah, get some awesome illustrations there in the background.
Werewolf, the transformation of man
Ugh,
into wolf,
it's altered
has a
beast.
history that extends back
Rise
as
from
far
your
as
grave.
ancient Greece and beyond. In popular mythology, werewolves were supposedly human by day, but beasts by the light of the full moon. If you became a werewolf, you would remain one for 9 years. But
Oh,
if
okay.
you devoured human flesh, you would be condemned forever.
Ugh,
A
that
more
person's all...
modern name for this phenomenon,
Oh no, it's a necklace. I thought she was all
is
lumpy
still a
bumpy.
confusion of causes between the magical reality of the man-wolf and the extreme mental self-delusion that one has become a wolf. Different cultures have their own variations of the werewolf. In India, there are were-tigers.
Yeah,
In
I remember reading
Africa,
about that before.
were-leopards, were-jackals, and were-hyenas. And in other parts of the world,
There's
even
Where's Wally's.
foxes and were-bats, reflecting the
That was a
vampire
crap
bat
joke. I'm
legend
sorry.
as well as the werewolf myth.
Well, zombies, zombies. Yay! Zombies! Oh, yes.
The undead, it seems, are still with
Got
us.
this by the ass, man.
In the Caribbean island of Haiti, belief in the power of sorcery and voodoo remains intense. Ordinary people live in fear that the bodies of the departed
Voodoo
may be
zombies are
stolen from their
terrifying.
graves by voodoo priests and reawaken to a semi-conscious life as the living dead. Such fears are so strong that many people take special precautions to prevent this happening to their relatives, such as weighting the coffin lid with a large rock, guarding the grave until decay sets in, or providing the departed soul with beads and string to help it resist the calls of the priest. It has been suggested that in reality, the voodoo priests administer a poison that puts their victims
Was that a
into
tiny voodoo
death-like
person?
coma, from which they can later be revived, giving the appearance of having raised the body from the dead.
There you go. Well, yeah, as I mentioned, the voodoo zombie thing is terrifying because of its basis in reality, really, I suppose. Most people think of zombies as the Romero zombies, the living dead eating flesh, or the Return of the Living Dead ones eating brains, and them literally being a reanimated corpse. But previous to that, you know, you had especially movies, films like White Zombie and things like that. They were very much rooted in the voodoo zombie, which was a slightly different thing. They were more like mindless slaves, rather than just sort of reanimated corpses just working on instinct and needing to feast. And the reason why I find them so terrifying is that there is cases of, documented cases of people who've been presumed to have died and or gone missing, being found years later, and they have essentially been kidnapped and drugged and kept in this sort of fugue state of not knowing where they are, who they are, what they're doing, and used as, essentially, in one case I remember, a farmhand being used to just plough fields, do farm work, but this person couldn't remember who they were, and they were in this eternal sort of daze, and then being found years later and returned to family. Just absolutely, totally mad. So that's where the zombie sort of myth comes from. A lot of it, essentially, which I think is quite frankly terrifying. The downside of that is that I think that those myths and those films have given voodoo, which is obviously it's a religion from Haiti, and it's given it sort of a bad rap. Voodoo's seen as this sort of black magic worshipping evil religion. It really isn't, especially if you go somewhere like New Orleans, and you'll see that it's, certain people still do practice it, and there is, it still exists. It isn't what it was portrayed in the film. Same as when you get Wicca or witches in films now, modern films. Wicca isn't evil. It isn't like a bad thing, but media has portrayed it in that certain way, and of course people consume the media and think it is. And voodoo had a similar sort of thing going on for a while, and I don't think they'll ever really shake that, which is, white Westerners misinterpreting things, I think. But enough of my ramblings. Let us move on. What should we look at? Wild things. I think I love them. Right, okay. I'm going to crack another beer up while this is playing. Oh, what's that? I like the way it's sort of overlaying the... You know, it's got the face on the left there and it's overlaying what we're watching over the top. It's quite nice. Oh, the Yetis! The hairy little gits.
In 1960, Sir Edmund Hillary returned from a trip to the foothills of Mount Everest with what was reported to be the scalp of a Yeti,
It wasn't,
borrowed
no.
from a nearby monastery. Though the scalp was later shown to be made from a goat, it was for a time one of the few physical clues that has emerged in the ancient mystery surrounding what are
I'm laughing because I remembered hearing about
BHMs, big hairy monsters.
BHMs. It's me with after come out the shower.
The Yeti,
There's
or
a case
abominable
of
snowman, is perhaps the best known.
I
and
think
has inspired
weirdly
more
I think there
search
was like a Nazi
expeditions
general or
than
something
any
that
other.
supposedly owned the skin of a Yeti or
Descriptions
a
of this creature
Sasquatch or an abominable snowman or whatever you want to call it.
From the Himalayan
And
mountains of North India, Nepal,
someone
and
bought it for
Tibet
like hundreds of
since
thousands of dollars.
1832. But there
And
has
they got
never been a
analysed and it
body
turned
of
out to
the
just be
beast,
gorilla fur.
live or dead, to finally prove its existence. Nevertheless, many Westerners have been convinced by their own sightings and experiences. From the earliest sightings to descriptions from climbers over the last few years, the Yeti has emerged as more than simply a creature of myth.
I don't believe anyone
But
who's
what
that
it is
oxygen
and how it
starved
survives
near
in
the
such
top of a
bleak
mountain,
conditions
I think.
remains to be discovered.
Yeah. Must be really good at hiding the corpses of their fellow Yetis, I think. What's this? Bigfoot.
America
Same, but in the
has
trees.
its own version of the Himalayan Yeti. The first European settlers in California were told by native Indians about a strange man-beast of the mountains. Today, it is better known as Bigfoot in the United States
Me and my son on
and
the right there.
Sasquatch in Canada. At Bluff Creek, Northern California, just after 1:15 p.m. on October 20th, 1967, Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin claim to have achieved something rare and extraordinary.
No, I think this is the guy
to
who
have
faked
taken
the
the
footprint.
only known film footage of one of these mysterious creatures.
That guy, the picture,
However,
but the
it
film,
seems hard to believe that in a highly populated country like America,
the film. I
it
know
has
the two
so
guys
far
who took the
proved
video
impossible
fell
to
out
find
and didn't
and
like
capture
settle their
Bigfoot,
differences until
or
one of them
even
was on
to
their
detect
deathbed or
its
something.
skeleton.
It was, yeah,
It
one of them
has,
took
after
credit
all,
for it or something.
been cited thousands of times, had its footprints
Well, they
cast
said
as
no
often,
skeletons.
and has even been photographed.
You know, if a 7-foot dude died in the
Nevertheless,
woods,
the
someone would
Bigfoot
probably find a
legend lives
skeleton.
on, and today it is attracting new adherents.
Footprints
who claim
left
experiences
after a report of
linking it
UFO
to
landing.
UFO phenomena.
Oh no, they're not seeing the big hairy aliens, are they? Although space is very cold. Who knows? Chinese wild man? What the hell is that? He's got the same size feet as me.
BHM mystery
What's the yowie?
exists in many forms throughout the world. For centuries, the people of southern China have spoken of the Yeren, or wild man. It is also
Put his
known
hand up
as
'cause
the
he needs a
man
wee.
bear, the hill ghost, and the monster of the mountains.
Yeah.
In 1989, anthropologist Jean Poirier and researcher Richard Greenwell traveled to China in search of the wild man. Though they interviewed many who claimed to have seen such a being,
Some good little video
it was
clips
not
on this.
until they
It's
had some
quite well
hairs
put together.
analyzed in a laboratory that they became convinced of the possible existence of an unknown animal.
You know, back in the 90s, putting software like this together, it mustn't have been
One of
easy,
their theories
to be honest.
is that the wild man may be a surviving giant primate, Gigantopithecus, thought extinct thousands of years ago.
Gigantopithecus.
Although
It looks
none of
cross.
these creatures have yet been caught or photographed, there have been a total of almost 200 sightings, with samples of hair, droppings, and footprints also found.
Yeti
The
poop.
search may soon be over.
Will it? What? Well, this was the 90s, and it still isn't over, so... Well, there we go. Okay. Oh, you know what? We'll do this one for Ema, seeing as she did her episode on fairies. Let's have a look at fairies. Is it going to be the nice fairies or the really mean Irish fairies? Let's see. Oh. Fairy world.
Little people, nature spirits, brownies, gnomes, trolls. To most of us, fairies are the
What about a few
cheeky,
trolls?
mysterious, and sometimes even threatening characters that inhabit children's fairy tales and folk stories. Traditionally,
Look at them,
fairies are
little
small,
scamps.
beautiful, and helpful to humans. But fairy folklore includes
Did I
some
see your
less
fairy
pleasant
voice?
stories.
They went.
For instance, it was believed that some fairies remove pretty human babies just after birth and replace them with uglier fairy babies, or changelings. In medieval
Ugly
times,
fairy
ugly
babies.
or unfit babies believed to be changelings would be left to die. While
Child is
skeptics
too
may
ugly.
be
It's a
unconvinced
fairy.
by the existence
Kill
of
it.
a real fairy world, for some the fairy realm is as real as you or I. And there are recent signs that a widespread belief in the nature realm is now returning.
We're
With the
going to get
growing
those
popularity of New Age ideas
amazingly
and
fake
concern for the environment,
fairy photos.
it seems that the real
That's a cool
basis
picture.
of fairy tradition taught by old Gaelic seers is now set for a revival.
Oh, what we got there? What's the next one? Oh, hello.
Historical records show
Oh,
ago that fairies were an accepted part of life in many cultures. Even today,
let's skip to this third part, see what this third one is. Nature spirits.
nowadays, fairy reports are more likely to be of nature spirits or elementals, the forces behind the creation of trees, flowers, and even animals. This is a new development which harks back to the philosopher Plato's idea of what he termed ideal forms.
Alright then.
Nature spirits
cool
were
little house,
seen
isn't it?
and described by the Findhorn settlers in Scotland,
Oh, yeah, the
who
Findhorn
suggested
Foundation
that plants and
community.
trees
Oh, Scotland.
might actually be growing and unfolding under the influence of invisible energies.
Okay.
The spirits, described by psychic Dorothy
I don't
McLean,
think it's just
even
tomatoes
gave
over on there.
botanical advice that enabled 40-pound cabbages to be cultivated. That humans can influence the process of plant growth is perhaps understandable. There have always been those who are good with plants. More surprising, though, are the claims of those with psychic abilities,
Hearing as if God
such as
in all
Michelle
life
Small
matters.
Wright of Virginia, who claims that her experiences of communication and cooperation with the nature realms may actually help to restore the lost ecological balance between
Very
man
nice.
and nature.
Looks like the park at the back of my house. Well, there we go. No, I've been. Oh, wait, I'll have a look on the next one. I'll go back on the fairies one, actually. I've been neglecting the text stuff at the bottom because you've been getting some good little audio clips on them. So let's have a look. What we got here? Oh, some sort of wiggly bumholes or something. I don't know. Oh yeah. What's that? The fairy realm. Late 19th century lantern slide. Varying types of fairies. Oh my goodness. Oh. Oh, people who claim to have special knowledge. People love having special knowledge. What's that? Gossip about fairies. Oh. Oh, yeah. Stop being slow. Stop it.
Little people,
Yes, little people.
brownies,
Fairies dancing on a fairy stone. I know in Ema's episode she mentioned fairy fairy forts, fairy sort of rings, circles, whatever people want to call them, and you know, people mucking with them and being punished for it, shall we say. There's a fairy stone. Dancing around a fairy stone. One of the most famous collections of fairy lore and stories of fairy sightings was made by the American scholar of the early 20th century, W.Y. Evans Wentz, or Vent, maybe, it might be German. Here is an Irish account. Oh, let's hear.
I have never seen a man fairy, nor a woman fairy, but my mother saw a troop of them.
That's the worst Irish
She
accent I've ever
herself
heard in my entire
and
life.
other maidens of the townland were once out. They were milking the cows. In
You
the
may as well
evening
say
gloaming,
to be sure.
when they
That's like
observed a
terrible.
flock of fairies reeling and sitting upon the green plain in front of the knoll.
Eamon, if you're
Helmets
watching
of
this,
blue
I have to
silk covered their
apologise for the
heads,
dreadful
and
Irish
garments
accents.
of green satin covered their bodies,
Shameful.
and sandals of yellow membrane covered their feet. Their heavy brown hair was streaming down their
How
waist,
hard is it to just put a
and
casting
its
call out that
lustre
just says
was of the fair golden sun of
person
summer.
with Irish accent?
Their sun was as white
That.
as the swan of the wave, and their voice was as melodious as the mavis of the wood.
Melodious? It
And they
sounds
themselves
Welsh.
were as beauteous a feature and as lithe a form as a picture, while their step was as light and stately, and their minds as sportive as the
It does sound
little...
Welsh. That sounded Welsh. Is that a Welsh-Irish person? Just the most Gaelic of all the people. Weird. Didn't like that. What we got down here? The Barnagold
people,
family,
nature
Curtis,
spirits,
Commonwealth,
brownies.
Cottingley. Now these are the ones. So this is not far away from where I live. But yeah, these pictures were taken by two young girls in Cottingley, and people genuinely thought these were real. They admitted later in life that they'd cut them out of a book, I think, and put them on little stakes or sticks or something, and stuck them into the ground and posed with them and took photos. How anyone could believe they were real baffles me, quite frankly. But I know Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the famous writer of Sherlock Holmes, he was a big believer in the paranormal and spiritualism, to the point where anything basically presented to him he thought it was real and proof, and he did think this was real. He genuinely did think they were real, which is a bit disappointing, really. I know it was a dawn of photography. Well, 1917 photography had been around for about filming had been around for about 30 years by this point. Maybe about 40 years, maybe, photography, maybe a bit longer. Yeah, longer than that. And still, you know what I mean? I mean, look at that. They're just you can see they are drawings. Anyway, very weird, very weird. Oh, there's another page of that. There we go. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. There we are. He wrote the book The Coming of the Fairies in support of the photo's credibility. It wasn't until 1982 that the full confession was made public. The two girls had decided, once Conan Doyle had become involved, that they could not confess until his death, or indeed until the death of two further advocates of the photos. The hoax itself was perpetrated using Elsie's artistic talent to copy fairy pictures from a book called Princess Mary's Gift Book, but this was only discovered in the 70s. Yet, even after 60 years, Elsie still maintained that before they had taken the photos, they had seen real fairies near the pond. Nope. Oh, hello, go back.
Little
Go
people.
back. Stop saying little people. Dearie me. Right, let's head back and we'll skip angels. I can't go through every single thing on this because we would be for like 4 hours or something, 4 or 5 hours. Let's have a look. What shall we pick next? Kind of don't want to do a UFOs. Never been too massively interested in it. I find it. I do find it interesting to some degree, but it seems every story really is the same. An object in the sky, someone saw an object, or in very rare cases, people having encounters and things like that. Shall we have a look at One of the most, actually, just on another note, one of the most interesting for me UFO accounts is the Rendlesham Forest incident, which, if you don't know about it, look it up. Really, really interesting. But yet again, it's to do with the credibility of the people involved and the amount of people that were involved. Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. Right, let's go for... Ooh. We did mysterious beings, didn't we? Should we have a look at... You know what? Sod it. Let's look at UFOs. I've just said I didn't want to, but let's do it, because there might be people who are interested in that. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, hello. Ooh. Close Encounters. Lights and Discs. Histories of your abductions. Now, abductions are the ones I'm the most reluctant to believe. Yeah, again, personal encounters are... an encounter by one person of any sort of paranormal phenomena, if you want to call it that, I find less intriguing, because it's very, very easy to be fooled, I think, or imagine things. So let's have a look at Close Encounters of the Third Kind. If I get to watch the entire Steven Spielberg film after I click this, I'll be very pleased. Excellent film. Here we go. In fact, that's a picture from Close Encounters on the left, I do believe. I don't think they got copyright approval for that. Oh, look at the UFO at the bottom. Well, that is definitely Close Encounters.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind. This is the term ufologists use to describe actual contact with alien beings.
My goodness.
Over the years, there have been literally thousands of reports of such encounters, each one unique and seemingly unconnected.
The ship in Close Encounters is cool, though.
The first
really
man
is.
to claim direct contact with aliens was George Adamski in the California desert in 1952. He related how the handsome alien he met took him on a magical tour of the solar system and introduced him to inhabitants of Mars.
That's another thing
Saturn,
I've got to mention is it always seems to be predominantly Americans who claim to have had
Such a
encounters with
glamorous
aliens.
and exciting story
And
inspired many of the UFO cults which
why?
arose over the next decade.
You know, why?
Their members
It's where the majority of
believed
sightings
that they
happen
were
as well.
specially chosen to lead the human race,
And abductions.
or at least had been selected to channel important messages from our cosmic masters. Yet most aliens, it seems, do not come to Earth to deliver messages.
Ooh.
More often their missions are a mystery, as in the case
Giant
of the
space
two
egg.
humanoid beings who asked a farmer in New Mexico for a bag of fertilizer, then vanished when he went to fetch it.
Okay. Could they have not just left? Oh, look at those fellas. That's a spangly
It's
outfit.
remarkable that aliens should be seen at all.
Now, mentioning
But it's the
being in
huge
America, but that was a
variety of
Malaysian
their
one there.
appearances that is even more astonishing.
That man's got a
For a
square
long
head.
time, there was almost no
Oh
similarity
yeah, again, Belgium,
between
just
the
to make me look like an
descriptions
idiot.
given. Only recently
And
have there
Argentina.
been regularly
Yeah, well, fair
reported
enough.
types, the most common now being known as the grey.
That seems to be the one that a
According
lot
to
of Americans
scientists,
report.
it is illogical to imagine that extraterrestrial life forms would resemble us in any way. Yet humanoids are reported much more often than non-humanoid forms. During a contact at Bait Bridge in Zimbabwe,
Look at
a
that.
witness was told, "They can make themselves appear in any form in our minds." Does this explain
cool
the appearance
morphing
of
effect
the
there.
ominous Men in Black,
Someone got After
who look
Effects for
similar
Christmas.
to humans, but who seem to have a mechanical power source? And is there a link between today's stories about aliens and the claims of contact with fairies in earlier centuries?
No. None at all. What's the third bit? Let's have a look. Oh, here we go. Witnesses.
It is through the eyes of witnesses that we perceive UFOs and aliens. To understand the claims, we must understand the claimants themselves. Should we believe repeater witnesses?
Betty and Barney Hill, why do I
people
remember
who claim
that
to have
case?
had successive encounters? What about people who
I
claim
can't
that they
remember
are
that.
themselves
We'll have to
aliens?
find out from the info at the bottom.
And do children make less or more reliable witnesses than adults? Few encounters with aliens are as magical as the experience originally described by George Adamski. Often they have unpleasant effects on the bodies and minds of the witnesses, who can later exhibit strange neuroses and compulsions. It is not really surprising that an encounter with aliens should produce drastic changes in people. But researchers should
yeah, if it's
consider
real, it's gonna
carefully
mess
the
with you a bit,
opposing
innit?
possibility that changes in people have brought on the encounter.
Bum bum bum. Alright, let's have a look at this. Oh, no, I don't like the way it skips back when the video's done, because it'd be nice to. Yeah. Oh, you can click to skip it. Oh, that's nice. Oh, okay, that's happy. That's happy times. Right, so I'm going to go on witnesses again. And have a look what...
It is through the eyes of witnesses that we perceive UFOs and aliens. To understand...
Oh man, Star Children, that's weird, yeah. There you go. Star Children are human beings who believe they have been seeded on Earth by a high extraterrestrial civilization. Okay. Many believe that the essence of the extraterrestrial intelligence is kept dormant until a particular event or trigger releases it so they can carry out their purpose. Okay. I think maybe it might be a case of people wanting to feel important, maybe, and different. Yeah, dreams. They typically work as teachers, doctors, nurses, lawyers, or any other positions from where they can play key roles at the appointed time. Important people. Yeah. Having personal charisma and compelling eyes. Well, there we go. Being attractive to children or animals? What? Okay. That's sinister. Don't like that. And again, let's see. What we got?
It is through the eyes of witnesses.
Go away. Let's have a look at history of UFOs. We might be able to, don't know how far back it'll go. It'll probably do Roswell and things like that. But we might get the Rendlesham that I mentioned. Maybe. It's often called the British Roswell. Let's see. Let us see. What we got? Okay, let's see what she has to say. Quite good narrator though. She's got the spooky tone down.
If UFOs exist, how
the
long
Nazca
have
lines.
they been visiting our planet? Some experts believe that the origins of the human race itself can be traced back to visitors from the stars.
Getting ruined though, the Nazca lines by tourists.
Ancient cave paintings, stories from the Bible, and epic Indian poetry seem to suggest that UFOs are not a new phenomenon.
Noodle neck?
If this is so, the occupants of these craft don't appear to have learned very much over the intervening centuries.
You said it was a fireball.
Why are they still doing the same things today that they apparently did thousands of years ago? Appearing to individuals, giving messages, and performing strange experiments on human beings. One exciting suggestion is that UFOs do not in fact come from other planets, but from our own future. If UFOs can travel through time, they may be sampling different time zones for study. Their appearances on Earth could be thousands of years apart to us, but in their time, the missions might be separated by only a few days.
Okay. And who came up with that theory?
UFOs and aliens may not have changed much over the centuries, but the way we relate to them
It's a
has changed a
giga
great deal.
alien.
Before the invention of the first
Shaking someone's
airplanes,
hand.
people described UFOs as flying boats or balls of fire. The great airship flap of the 1890s in the USA
Airship
came
flap?
at a time when the public were just becoming aware of the first man-made airships.
Ooh, rockets
In Europe,
reported.
in the
Ghost
1930s,
rockets
a spate of
over
ghost rockets
Sweden.
was reported.
Good sound effect, well done.
And during World War II, strange lights seen around aircraft were given the name Foo Fighters.
Indeed, where the band got their name.
Do UFOs actually change according to our current understanding? Maybe this variety is another pointer to the inaccuracy of witnesses' perceptions and reports.
Indeed.
In any event, it might be thought that of all people, astronomers would be the most likely to come up with a rational explanation for UFOs
Or
in
spot
terms
them
of what
more
we
often.
already know about space. In 1957, however, Dr. Frank Halstead of Darling Observatory, Minnesota, made a remarkable statement.
Many professional astronomers are convinced that saucers are interplanetary machines.
Cool, yeah, nice. The thing is, we've got so many telescopes and so many pieces of technology pointed at the skies. It's just, you know.
The start of the Cold War between
my
East and
goodness.
West after World War II coincided
spooky
with a
flying saucer.
significant increase in UFO sightings. The idea of being invaded by aliens was seen by some as a thrilling possibility, but by most as a nightmare.
That's
For
some
science fiction
good
writers
60s
and
special
filmmakers,
effects.
space aliens provided
Oh, that's
a
the
great
50s,
storyline.
50s World
And
War
in
War.
turn, their inventions
Pretty good version,
influenced
actually.
people's reports
Amazing
of
special
sightings.
effects for the time as well.
Interest in UFOs was also fueled by the atomic weapons program, the space race, and high-profile reports of abductions.
That was kind of when these
Strangely,
reports
one of the
started
most
becoming
powerful
more often.
factors has been government itself, and
I
the
think the
apparent
coincidences-
inability of the U.S. government
it's
in
just,
particular to come to terms with the public's concerns. As a reaction against the official wall of silence, over the last 50 years, a number of independent organizations have been established to discover, once and for all, the truth about UFOs.
Once and for all. You'll never find out the truth, I'm afraid. Especially if governments are involved. Well, that was exciting, wasn't it, children? Let's have a little quick look at that. Actually, let's go back to the pin menu. We looked at mysterious beings, didn't we? Let's have a quick look at Earth mysteries, and then I think we'll finish up with ghosts and spirits, which means we've probably only missed stuff beyond science. I'll give you a good taster. Dun dun dun. There's a sphinx in the background there. Oh, these sphinxes as well. Oh, there's one of the Great Pyramids. Oh, that's a nice little video right underneath it. The landscape figures, I'm guessing that'll be like in Peru, the Nazca lines. Ancient mystery sites, earth energies, crop circles, which are all, well, pardon my French, bullshit. Pyramids? Yeah, what do we say? Let's go with ancient mystery sites. So it tickles my fancy. I must say though, I mean, even now the presentation on this it's pretty good for what it is. It's nice and intuitively set up as well, which is quite nice. What have we got? Oh, Earth mysteries. I was going to mention Stonehenge.
There have always been
Yeah,
places
stone
on the
sites.
earth which have attracted mankind. places where sacred activity has been focused, and structures built to assist with ritual and ceremony. But these enduring creations our ancestors left behind provoke fierce questioning.
There it is. See, Stonehenge, I think, is interesting. I think it's an important
How,
site.
with so little technology,
I don't think there's
were
anything.
ancient people able to create
I don't
structures
think
which
there's anything
measured time,
paranormal
which were
about
accurately
it.
oriented to points of the compass?
I've been
And
there
from where
personally,
it was
and it is
possible to calculate
it's
the
beautiful. It's
movements
quite
of the
striking.
planets and the stars. Stonehenge may be the most famous stone circle in the world, but it is by no means unique in its
Ooh, there's
complex
lots.
astronomical function. Many sites like Avebury in England and Carnac in northern France reveal astonishingly accurate methods of surveying and design, as do Callanish in the Outer Hebrides off the Scottish coast and Newgrange in Ireland. Such precision was necessary in order to reliably use these often sophisticated solar and lunar calendars for important rituals.
Yeah, I know they do think
Yet how was
that
it
Stonehenge
achieved?
was essentially a calendar, but yeah, that's the question. How was it achieved? Let's find out. No? Okay, well, it's not.
Aztec, Mayan, Toltec, Incan. The great civilizations of Central America have left a legacy of
I
mystery
think one of the
that
things
attracts
a lot of
millions
people
to their
get
ancient
puzzled
sites
by
every
is
year.
when an
The
ancient
strange blend of high
well, an
culture
ancient
and
civilization
ritualized
dies
human
out,
sacrifice
and
that
they were
these
quite
people
advanced.
practiced has never been
people can never
fully
quite
explained.
understand that. The
And the
Egyptians are quite
discoveries
advanced.
of many hastily
A lot of
deserted
the
sites
Central
have
and South
provoked more
American
questions than answers.
civilizations were as well.
Chichen
And
Itza and Palenque
people, I
in
think,
Mexico
they
seem
can't get
to
their head
have
around
been
that,
the
so
most
they like to
important centers
insert,
of Mayan civilization
know,
and ritual practice.
influenced by aliens and other
Machu
such
Picchu,
things.
the Inca temple complex high in the Andean mountains,
it's
remains a
I
remarkable
mean, look at the Romans, for
construction
instance. They were
and a
a very
testament
advanced
to the Inca's
civilization and
fortitude, determination,
died out.
and sense of worship. And in Peru,
it's not
the
unknown to happen.
Coricancha at Cusco, the center of the Incan universe, still
Center of the
hides
Incan
many of
universe.
its secrets from the modern world. And the pattern of straight
The other
tracks
theory,
that
obviously, of
emanate
course, is
from
that
the city
a lot of these
strangely
civilizations didn't
echo
necessarily
other
die out,
formations,
especially the South
such as
American
the
and Central
famous
American.
Nazca
They didn't die
lines.
out, they just dispersed. They went other places. Yeah. Very interesting stuff. Bum bum bum.
Kailash, Delphi, Mount Shasta,
Glastonbury Tower.
Glastonbury. The sacred places created by nature have attracted
Glastonbury,
pilgrims and
interestingly,
seekers
is one of the
as
places.
forcefully
There is
as
theories
those
that
places
if
which man has
Christ
built to
existed,
celebrate the spiritual
there is some people
worlds.
who believe that he went to
There are
Glastonbury,
sacred
and
mountains on
it's
most
hinted at in the
continents,
Bible,
many of
supposedly
them
that he
considered
came
powerhouses
to
of spiritual
England
energy,
and went to
places
Glastonbury.
where the veil between spirit and matter is thin, where the gods make themselves known to men. Glastonbury Tor in England
There we go.
hardly earns the name of mountain, but in the minds of many, it is the heart of the world, the center of the great myth of the Holy Grail,
There we go.
site of King Arthur's ancient city, Avalon, of the giant Glastonbury zodiac, and a spiritual center for New Age followers.
There's been a lot of people theorising about where
Many other natural sites have been adopted by man, like the temple
Arthur
at Delphi,
could have been,
where
and
the ancient Greeks worshipped and listened to the wisdom of the
the Round
oracle.
Table and whatnot.
And what we consider as
Many
more
of the,
recent constructions may hold deeper secrets.
I know one of the most recent
like
ones
the
was
medieval
yet again quite
cathedral
close to
at
me in
Chartres
West
in
Yorkshire
northern
that we
France,
thought might have
a
been the
focus
base
for
of Camelot.
Christian worship for nearly 1,500 years, whose site
York
may
Minster.
hold secrets that are far older
Well, the Tower on
and
the
much
left is.
closer to nature.
Well, wasn't that exciting? Let's go back on that. I guess we'll see the text. Dun, dun, dun. Hurry up with your compass. Right. Stop playing your videos. Go. There we go. Alright, so we got Stonehenge. Yeah, got some text about Stonehenge. Interesting. What we got? What else we got? Oh, I don't like this delay. Oh! The computer went crazy thing. Got Untold.
There have always been places on the earth which...
Living bright. It seems a lot of these things are to do with basically more detail about things she mentions in the narration. Mysterious
earth, which have
Why are you locking up now?
where sacred structures built to...
Don't make me point my finger at you.
But these enduring
that's
creations
stolen
our
news.
ancestors left behind.
Newgrange. What's that? Newgrange is the most famous group of about 25 Irish Neolithic passage graves, mound graves with associated passages up to 70 foot long. I think this might be where they based, there's a scene in the second Hellboy film, I think, to do with this. Beautiful craftsmanship has been discovered to record the midwinter sunrise, the turning of the year in a most extraordinary way. A special structure over its entranceway, the roof box, allows a beam of light to pass along the corridor to the centre of the grave, where it falls onto a triple spiral figure cut into stone. This is only possible for a few days a year either side of the midwinter sunrise. The carvings from inside the grave have puzzled researchers since they are unlike those in other Irish passage graves. Their coded language of lozenges, zigzags and circles have been interpreted by some as cosmological and astronomical observations. Researcher Martin Brennan has described Newgrange as the largest and oldest sundial in the world. Its egg shape and womb-like interior have led to claims that it was a form of fertilization chamber for the life force of its people and the earth they inhabited. The fact that midwinter is the time of renewal gives this ritualistic interpretation some interesting validity. Ooh, that's interesting. I didn't know about those. They're kind of cool, Sam. The beam of light thing reminded me of, obviously, of Indiana Jones, the first one. Raiders of the Lost Ark with the old staff and all that. Yeah, cool. I like that. That's awesome. Right. I think what we might do now is... let's have a little look. This page seems to be locking up quite a bit. There we go. Let's have a quick look at pyramids, and then we're going to finish up with ghosts, I think. My favourite. Construction of the pyramids.
No creations of the human mind and hand have provided as many mysteries
When you
as
see
the
those
pyramids that stand
pictures
on the
of
Giza
the
plateau near Cairo.
Pyramids like that, you see those pictures
There are a
of the
total
Great Pyramids.
of 9 pyramids.
But Cairo's
some
so
now
close,
almost totally
and
destroyed,
it's
but it has always
tourism's
been the
destroyed
Great
it, man.
Pyramid of King
I mean, look,
Khufu,
it's
or
just
Cheops,
it's just
dating from
destroyed it.
around 2400 BC, which has attracted more attention than any other. It is the largest single building on the planet, 482 feet high, and contains about 2.5 million stone
I do believe
blocks,
it's the only
which weigh a
remaining of
total
the 7
over 6
original ones of
million
the world
tons,
as well. I do
30
believe.
times the mass of the
The
Empire
rest
State
are all
Building. The jagged surface we see today, all 20 acres of it, was originally covered in a white limestone dressing and would have been polished to an optical precision.
I mean, it's
Many
incredible.
experts also
Incredible.
believe that its capstone was covered with pure gold. Its almost unimaginable brightness in the rays of the equatorial sun would have truly earned it its Egyptian name, the Light.
It's insane to think that civilization that long ago built something like that, but they had something we don't have, and that is slaves. Thousands of slaves. You know, unfortunately so. Oh, that's some cool footage.
These buildings have
27.
spawned more archaeological and supernatural theories and fantasies than perhaps any others on the planet. Their purpose has seemed so unfathomable, so hidden, that they seem to be able to absorb any theory that gets proposed. The most straightforward and commonly accepted idea is that the pyramids were simply tombs for mummified pharaohs.
I know there's
It was
supposedly
also
parts of the
suggested
pyramids
that they
have
were
just
built as massive
haven't
grain stores
been
to offset famine,
explode, and
though
they
archaeological
can't get
evidence
into
makes
explode
this
them,
highly unlikely.
which is
Is the Great
mind-boggling.
Pyramid
I mean, what's
a
in them?
giant cosmic observatory,
No, it's not.
or a storehouse of secret knowledge, or perhaps even an encoded message foretelling the end of the world?
No, it's not that either.
The most extraordinary theories link the pyramids with
Aliens?
beings
Yeah,
from a
why not?
distant galaxy.
Everything's linked to aliens.
Were they in fact built by these
If you can't
visitors
explain
as
it, it's
giant
aliens.
landing pads for their spacecraft?
No, they're no.
Some theories
no.
seem more worthy
Oh,
of attention
God.
than others.
That's that animation. A giant pyramid landing on a small pyramid. Oh. Seriously. I know there's people who believe it though. People who really believe it.
One recent theory which has gained a strong following is the claim by two writers, Robert Bauval and Adrian Gilbert, that the Egyptian pyramids of the 4th dynasty are a terrestrial zodiac, a map of the skies laid out on the Egyptian landscape
Why
to
not?
precisely mirror the positions of the stars most sacred to the Egyptians, the constellation of Orion, or Osiris, god of the dead, and the star Sirius, his sister, Queen Isis, mother of all the pharaoh kings.
I mean, that makes more sense than alien spaceships
Bauval and
landing
Gilbert's
on
theory
pyramids.
emerged when Bauval realized that the 3 stars in Orion's belt exactly matched the alignment of the 3 main pyramids at Giza.
Didn't know that.
A further 2 pyramids fit well with the theory, and another smaller pyramid matches Sirius's position. But there are also 2 missing pyramids which may never have been built.
Or were built and not there anymore, perhaps.
The theory is intriguing and may yet win over more converts in the struggle to solve the riddle of the pyramids.
Or maybe the other 2 weren't pyramids, other structures perhaps. Wow, there we go. Exciting stuff. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to go back to the main menu now and let's do some ghosties. Ghosts and spirits. Woo! My fave. I just like spooky stories. I think that's why I like ghosts, and I think everyone has or everyone knows someone who has a ghost story. Can't go wrong with ghosts. Let's start at the beginning. Ghosts. Here we go. Ghosts and spirits. Sensing ghosts. Oh, yet again another stellar illustration.
Though this is the standard image many of us have, most ghosts don't come rattling chains and wrapped in white sheets.
Some
In fact,
Christmas Carol for
some
you.
ghosts may not be frightening at all.
Jacob
So
Maher.
how do you know when you're in the presence of a ghost? We may perceive ghosts using our senses of sight, hearing, touch, and smell. Ghosts which can only be heard are often known as banshees. and in some cultures are omens of death or
Indeed.
disaster for whoever hears their terrifying screams.
Interestingly, you might hear more about this on one of our episodes coming up,
Sometimes
perhaps.
more than one sense is involved, as in the extraordinary case of Indiana's Lady of the Wood, whose terrifying form appeared floating above the ground, wailing for help to save her child.
Yeah, that'd be brown pants
Not
time
only
for
could
me, I
this
think.
ghost be heard, it looks so solid and real that hordes of ghost hunters set out to confront it with knives and guns.
Yeah, of course. First reaction, get knives and guns out.
Ghosts are not always passive,
Rather that
ignoring
sort
the
of
world
classic
of the living.
pointing ghost sort
Sometimes they seem
pose.
determined to play a part in the world they have left, but not forgotten. The English automobile
Campbell.
and speedboat racer Donald
Nick
Campbell
Coniston.
was convinced he was protected by the ghost of his father, Malcolm, who had also set world speed records in the
think.
1920s.
He died on a
Donald
speedboat in
said that on
Coniston.
more than one occasion he felt his dead father had taken over the controls of his boat during dangerous attempts to set a new record.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. No.
Perhaps the most famous protective ghosts
Is that
are
the
the
guy?
air
I'm
crew
gonna have to
of
search it
Flight
up.
401, which crashed
sure
in
it's
the
the guy who
Florida
died in Lake Coniston.
Everglades in December 1972. They have since been seen on many occasions making safety checks on other Lockheed planes. The ghost of Second Officer Don Repo told the captain of another aircraft, "There will never be
It was,
another crash
yes.
of an L-1011.
Coniston Village,
We will
Coniston
not
Lake,
let
sorry.
it happen."
He speed record on water and died. Yeah, I thought it was him. Spoops.
It is not widely realized that many ghostly apparitions turn out to be of people who are still alive. These are known as doubles,
Got some
bilocations,
cool photos of this,
or
actually,
Vardogers.
in a ghost book.
Seeing your double is supposed to be an omen of death. The Russian Empress Catherine the Great was so terrified when she saw her own double that she ordered her guards to fire at it. It was a futile action. She died soon afterwards. Sometimes images of people far away appear to loved ones around the time of their death, as if to say goodbye. On the day that World War I ended, Harold Owen was aboard ship when he saw his brother Wilfred, the great English war poet.
I know there was a
sitting
case
in
of
his
an English, I think he was a
He did not
lord.
speak.
Who
Only
was that?
smiled his most gentle smile. Suddenly I felt terribly tired and I lay down. Instantly I went into a deep, oblivious sleep. When I woke up, I knew with absolute certainty that Wilfred was dead.
Yeah, I know there's been it's a very famous ghost photo, if you want to call it a ghost photo, of I think it was a drawing room in a some sort of country mansion or whatnot, and the lord of the place had died, and his funeral was going on a couple of miles away, and someone took a photo of the room, and I know it was a time-lapsed photograph because it was an older one and you had to expose for longer, and when they looked back at it, it looked like there was a figure sat in a chair. Yeah, that's one of the more famous ones anyway. Let's have a look. Modern ghost mysteries. Oh, actually, let's go back into ghosts and let's have a quick look at the bottom there. I think we've got time to go into these in a bit more detail, I think. Hurry up. Oh yeah, and click on it. Oh, it seems when I click it breaks. Yeah, it does.
Many of us have.
Yeah. Shoot first. Visible ghosts. Yeah, Lady of the Woods. We just heard about that. Over here. Audible ghosts. A banshee. Look at her go. Woo! Leaping away there. What we got here? Let's have it. Stop.
Many of us
knocking up.
have. Most ghosts
tactile ghosts. Contact ghosts sometimes brings an uplifting and pleasant feeling. An English woman, Sue Henderson, describes how she was contacted by her late partner George in the early 1990s. Sue woke up one morning and felt herself physically lifted off the bed. Okay. Are we going to get a dreadful accent?
I just
Oh. You do what?
come up.
Just come what?
It was a shock.
It's breaking.
Oh, what is it? As I say, very distinct.
Yeah, it's just Windows dying.
The
We'll have to try this
feeling
again.
of the warmth of a pair of hands under my legs, holding them. But I couldn't see anything. I could feel warmth, a real sensation of heat. And I was being carried down the stairs.
Okay.
Not floating, but being carried very gently. I know that it wasn't my imagination. I've got a good imagination, but...
Oh, okay. You finished now? I broke a little bit, didn't it? Look at that. Oh, stop it now. Stop.
Us have, most ghosts don't come rattling chains and wrapped in white
Right,
sheets.
let's go back. Let's have a look. We did Modern Ghost Spirits and Mediums. Let's do Haunt. Spirits and Mediums. Nah, I ain't down with Spirits and Mediums. Let's have a go with Haunt. Spooky, spooky tunes. Oh, haunted houses, the good stuff. Oh, look at that. That looks like Whitby. Oh, look, a spook.
Ghosts can appear anywhere, at any time. But it seems that there are certain places where they are most likely to be seen.
Oh, is
In
that
the
what I think? Is
1930s,
that Borley
Borley
Rectory? Yes,
in
it
the
is.
south of England became notorious as one of the world's most haunted houses.
Oh,
The
one of the
newspapers
world's
were
most
full of
faked haunted
sensational
houses, depending
stories
on your
about
outlook.
headless men, a phantom carriage, and other terrifying apparitions. When Borley Rectory was burnt down a few years later, a ghostly nun was seen at one of the windows, trying to escape.
The ghostly nun was prior to that as well.
Borley's
supposedly.
ghosts have disappeared. So what is the world's most haunted building today? The Tower of London, where thousands of people met their bloody deaths? Whaley House in San Diego, California?
Oh yeah, the Whirly House.
Or Dover Castle, where researchers video recorded a heavy wooden door apparently being shaken by a ghost. Perhaps one of the oldest haunted buildings is Scotland's Glamis Castle, haunted
Oh,
by the
Glamis
spectral
Castle.
Grey Lady, Lady Janet Douglas.
Not just that as well, apparently there
who
was
was
a
burned at the stake for witchcraft
a
almost
child, if I'm not
500
mistaken.
years ago.
Locked, excuse me, not locked, but walled up in part of the castle.
Perhaps we should be suspicious of stories about famous ghosts in famous places.
Yep.
In theory, a queen or a president should be no more likely to be seen in spectral form than anyone else. One of the most famous ghosts is that of assassinated U.S. President Abraham
I
Lincoln,
do believe that former
reported
president
time and again by
claims to have
successive
seen him.
occupants of the White House.
Oh man, I haven't seen that
Certain
photo in a long
places
time.
are
Ghost
also
dog.
haunted by the ghosts of animals, especially dogs and horses. Centuries ago, at the Manor House in Oxenby, England, a black cat was mutilated to punish a member of the family. Since then, its ghost has been seen prowling through the corridors.
Spooky cat.
It seems to be seeking comfort, but then vanishes into the floor.
I'd rather
at
a
the
spooky
witness's
cat
feet.
than my cat, to be honest.
On each occasion, the cat appears as an omen of death. After
Oh,
subsequent appearances,
I wouldn't
first
like
a girl
that though.
died, then her mother and father. Perhaps the existence of animal ghosts suggests that animals, like people, have spirits.
Ooh. Right, what's next? Come on, tell us more spooky stuff. Emotions and
If ghosts
expectations.
are the perceptible form of an immortal spirit, we may all become ghosts one day.
Nah.
Yet hauntings are especially associated with traumatic events, sudden deaths, or some act of appalling cruelty.
The Old Treasurer's House, York.
It has been suggested
Oh, the Roman
that an
Soldiers. I think
intense
that's the
emotion,
basement
such as
where
mortal fear,
Builder
could
saw
spark off an
Roman soldiers
abnormally
march,
large
if I'm not
electrical
mistaken.
discharge from the brain, which might then be permanently recorded on the environment.
Oh, well.
The recording may be replayed only at certain times, such as the
Most
anniversary
haunted
of
room
the
in
event.
England. I
Or
know
perhaps
supposedly
it
the
is
most
always
haunted pub
there,
in England
but
is in
only
York.
apparent to
And I have
those who are
stayed there
especially
overnight.
receptive.
And it is a very spooky building, but I didn't see anything.
Today, our ghostly heritage has become an invisible asset for the tourist industry. In the
Indeed.
UK in particular, there are countless stories of ghosts and no shortage of people wishing to catch a glimpse.
Yeah, ghosts
But our
and
desire to
paranormal is
see
a big
famous
thing in the
ghost
UK, I
may
think.
blind us
Tourism.
to other ghosts all around us.
Well, there we go. Right, I think we'll give Poltergeist a go, and just before we finished on Poltergeist, noisy spirits or noisy ghost, I do believe in German. Let's have a look. Let's give it a look. More spooky footage of a fella running away and someone walking along the bottom there. Sound and fury, throwing things about.
The word poltergeist is German for noisy spirit, but this barely begins to describe the most destructive and terrifying
Another famous
of
photo.
paranormal phenomena. The British ghost hunter Harry Price didn't hold back his adjectives.
Harry Price, a bit of
Poltergeists are
a
cruel, purposeless, and
controversial
spiteful.
figure.
A ghost haunts. A poltergeist infests.
He investigated Borley Rectory, which you mentioned
Perhaps
previously, but some people think
poltergeists
he,
shouldn't be called ghosts at all.
at the very least,
Some
augmented at
investigators
the
believe that this
very
type of
most
activity
faked
comes from
some of
repressed
the
sexual
phenomena.
energy. Many poltergeists are willing to communicate, audibly or in writing. The messages are often malicious and threatening.
That's Borley, yeah,
In
there
the
it is.
last century, a famous case centered around a
Light
woman
must
in
play.
Nova Scotia named Esther Cox. Amidst a series of attacks, a message appeared
I
on
know
the
there's been a
wall
lot of
above her
cases
bed,
of
saying,
it being on
Esther, you are mine to kill.
prepubescent children, or more common,
But do
prepubescent
such
girls.
messages come from the dead? From other entities? Or from uncontrolled energies within the witnesses
See,
themselves?
some writing appearing and someone writing something and no one in it not being seen written. Anyone could do that. The evidence just doesn't stack up, I don't think.
Poltergeists are a favorite subject for
Yay,
films
great film.
because their manifestations can be so much
Not the
more
remake.
dramatic than the silent
remake was
appearance of a misty spectre.
Another famous picture.
The reality falls little short. Children are attacked and maimed by unseen forces. Fires break out. Cars and houses are pelted with rocks. On March 12, 1985, blood spurted from the
think
walls of a house in Abidjan.
One of the things that puts
on
me
the
off a lot of
Ivory
these
Coast.
cases is
People walking in the house
when
left
there's
bloody
been-
footprints. In
when the
another
people
case,
involved are
in the
deeply
Atlanta
religious,
home
I
of
think
a Mr. and Mrs. Winston, blood appeared from nowhere on their
I just
walls
think
and floors.
you never hear of someone who's, or you rarely hear of someone
Once,
who is like
Mrs.
a
Winston found the bathroom
diehard,
floor covered in blood when
just
getting
not
out of the
religious
bath.
atheist.
The blood was
and
analyzed
being
and
haunted.
found to be
It
humans,
just,
type O.
you
The
know,
Winstons
it's
both
interesting.
have type A. Where it came from still remains a mystery.
Oh, that's a story I've known a long time actually. Remember that one from the kid in the book.
It is
Cheshire
when
again.
attacks become intolerable that investigators are called in. Sometimes an unhappy child or a
I've seen that
malicious
before as
neighbor
well.
is discovered, deliberately creating havoc. But often, the attacks defy explanation.
Spooky stuff, though. Spooky
In the case
stuff.
of the Giles
I mean, if
family,
you
who
think
lived in
about it, if it
Bristol,
actually happened
England
to you,
in the
it's...
1760s, an
I
investigator
don't
set up
even know
a
what I'd do.
bizarre experiment with the elder daughter Molly, who was plagued by a poltergeist. He marked some pins and placed them one by one into a pincushion. After the first one, Molly cried out in pain.
The identical pin that I marked was run through the neck of her shift and stuck in her skin, crooked, very curiously.
Oh,
There
very
was not a
curiously.
minute from the time I put the pin in.
Oh, not bed spoons. Don't do the bed spoons
And
thing.
poltergeists continue today. The most famous probably being the Enfield case, in which a family was
Yeah,
plagued
again, I
by
think this one was
paranormal
fake
activity
too.
for over
I
a
think
year.
the girls faked
Moving
this.
objects, strange voices, and a great force that lifted a young girl into the air were even recorded by sealed cameras positioned by two
I
researchers.
mean, even just seeing like the Enfield poltergeist, even just seeing some of the modern interviews with the people involved, I don't know, it just seems, for me, it just seems really, 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 really rigged. I think it's just mischievous kids making up a lot of stuff and the adults being carried along with the nonsense, to be honest. But yeah, weird. Anyway, I think we'll stop there. That was kind of cool. We watched most of the... I think we watched most of them. Yeah, we maybe missed out one or two. But yeah, if you want to get a hold of that and give it a go yourself, you'll have to run it in Windows 95 or 98. I got it off the Internet Archive. I do believe it's not illegal for me to mention that, for I do believe it is not copyrighted anymore. But yeah, I'm planning on doing a couple more of these. I've got a few more multimedia CD-ROMs that I want to do, and then various other sort of daft paranormal, I suppose you would say, well, collections, as it were, that I thought people might find a little bit interesting. But if you did enjoy that, which I hope you did, or are enjoying it if you're watching this after, then yeah, please, give us a subscribe and everything, and check out our previous videos. The full length things are coming soon, I promise. Just this lockdown nonsense is, well, it's not nonsense, it's needed, but this lockdown situation is really putting a dampener on what we want to do. So hopefully you did enjoy it, and hopefully you will join us next time. And until then, I hope that you stay safe and look after yourselves. Thank you very much for watching.